exploring our oneness with Spirit and each other. Unity Online Radio. Thank you for tuning in for this Unity Partner Program. Unity Online Radio partners with spiritual leaders from organizations whose mission and messages complement Unity's. We are pleased to bring you this program on Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world.
Welcome to Living on Purpose with psychology doctoral candidate Jessie Herriott from Atlanta, Georgia. Are you ready to make a switch? A switch from barely living to living on purpose. During the next hour, you will discover principles to help you live a fully functioning, conscious, and purposeful life. The all is mind, and so are you. Let's live on purpose. Now, here's your host, Jessie Herriott.
And thank you, folks, again for joining me for another week of Living on Purpose. I am so grateful that you allow me every week into your hearts and into your minds and wherever else the information is coming through, whether you're on your job fulfilling your vocation or you're at home right now. And also, for those of you that are just tuning in, just also want to mention you can log onto the website, www.unity.fm, and click on mobile apps. And there are applications that you can download for your phone so you can listen to the show and all of my other colleagues, all the other wonderful people that are on this radio station on the go. But on this week, folks, we have a very special treat. This is someone that I discovered in my own study for my own personal growth, and I'm sure you've heard of him. If you haven't heard of him, you are in for a treat. I want to go ahead and jump right into dialoguing with the guest. His name is Dannion Brinkley. I'm sure some of you folks have probably seen his movie. I believe it was Saved by the Light. Best-selling book, Saved by the Light, Secrets of the Light, Lessons from Heaven, and forthcoming book, 10 Things to Know Before You Go. Just to mention some brief information about him, he's appeared on national TV, radio shows, including Larry King Live, Oprah, Unsolved Mysteries, and many others. Like I said, the made-for-TV movie based on his bestseller, Saved by the Light, debuted as one of the highest-rating television movies in Fox TV history. He's also the author of At Peace in the Light. That's another one of his books as well. And the rest, folks, I'll let Dannion fill in for himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dannion Brinkley, are you on the line?
I am here, Jesse.
Thank you so much again for agreeing to come on the program.
Well, anything that helps people better deal with the reality of the world we live in, I am glad and sincerely thankful to be on the show.
Yeah, so, Mr. Brinkley, Dannion, Dannion. Before we went on air, you were saying something. Could you go ahead and repeat what you were saying? We were talking about humor because I've noticed that you use a lot of humor in your work. After all of the things that you've been through, you still found humor.
Well, we have to look at this. I've been struck by lightning twice, had open heart surgery, brain surgery, and surgery. And it all came from being struck by lightning. And the best thing I could say is once you understand two things occur, the mystery of life. First, that there is a life after death without any question. When I was struck by lightning, Jesse, I was dead for 28 minutes, completely paralyzed for 6 days, partially paralyzed for 7 months. It took 2 years to learn to walk and feed myself. And in the course of that, I learned that there are two things that are absolutely for sure. First, there is a life after death. And second, I didn't go to hell. And if anybody should have gone to hell, I am your guy. So once you don't go to hell, and once you realize there's a life after death, life becomes an amazing adventure. It becomes one of the most delightful gifts. And so as life progressed, I always thought, well, what are they going to do? Kill me? Well, big deal. Who does that frighten? And I cannot stand, Jesse, that we have created in our lives such a fear-based reality about something that never, ever really occurs. No one ever dies. And not only did I get struck by lightning twice, 3 years apart, it's like it's time to kill him again because he's going astray. I stopped to think in my life, after having 3 near-death experiences over a 22-year period, you stop and think, well, how many times do you guess they would have to kill you before you figured it out? So everything is really a beautiful sense of humor, but people have to realize, as a spiritual being, to have an opportunity to live a life, a mere 72 years, in this mental, physical world is a reward. It's not punishment. It's not some kind of karmic debt. It's a reward to come and experience what it's like to be a co-creator. And for that, I'm sincerely thankful. I wish I had read it in a magazine, but I did not.
So, Mr. Dannion, let's back up. What were you like before the incident? And can you walk us through that night? What happened? Because I've heard you tell it so many times. You said the lightning literally, when it hit you, it suspended you in the air?
Well, I grew up basically in the South as a tough guy. A bully, redneck, bully. Tough guy, sports, and I thought you dealt with everything that was going on by how hard you could hit it. And then I discovered sports, and then I discovered the United States Marine Corps, and that was a very tragic period, the Vietnam era period. And I thought I'd found perfection in my life. So most spiritual concepts, since I had rejected so much of the fundamentalist traits that we lived in the South, I always laugh. Everybody from South Carolina goes to hell. So
I know, I'm from there.
I just thought about it from that point. And then one evening I was sitting talking on the telephone. Lightning hit the telephone line. It comes and hits me in the side of the head. It goes down my spine. It welds the nails of the heels of my shoes to the floor. It throws me in the air, suspends me in the air, slams me back down on the bed. I'm burning and I'm on fire as though I'd been bathed in battery acid. I can't see and I can't move. And the pain was so severe, and there was nothing that I could do, Jesse. And then all of a sudden, I lift out of my body. And I have a sense of loving, wonderful peace. And I'm looking down at my body, but I'm looking at it down from a perspective. I was no longer a participant in the life of Dannion. I was an observer, a very, not an enormously enlightened being, but someone who was observing it. I didn't feel the pain. I was relieved to be out of that body. And I had a sense of security and serenity that I don't think I had ever felt in my entire life. And I watched the paramedics come. I watched the franticness because the lightning melted the phone. I watched the franticness of my girlfriend going next door and calling the paramedics. The guy on the other end of the phone he heard the explosion, and he was probably less than a mile away. He came over. I watched them load me in the ambulance. And I can remember the paramedic saying, "He's gone. He's gone." And I thought, gone where? I'm here. The paramedic's here. The lump is there. And then I heard a series of chimes and tones and frequencies. And I could feel me being pulled upward, and I look over my shoulder, and I could see this tunnel forming. And as these tones and chimes sounded, I began to move down this tunnel. And the tunnel appeared to be moving, Jesse, whether I was moving or not. Now, you have to remember this, Jesse. So many people now have brought back this story. But I had this experience before Dr. Raymond Moody wrote his landmark book, Life After Life.
Right.
So I had absolutely no idea what was happening to me. When I came into this place of light and wonderment, I was met by a being of light. And you have people say it's Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad and Allah and Krishna, God.
Right.
But that person that you meet at the end of the tunnel, it's you.
Because that was my next question. Because so many people talk about meeting the saviors of mythology and history and things like that, but you said you met you.
Yeah, it took two more before I really figured out who it was. Because I had basically the same experience, I just got smarter each time. But, the first lightning was in 1975. The second lightning strike was in 1978. Which led to open heart surgery in 1989, which led to brain surgery in 1997, which led to heart surgery in 2008. And in the course of these 5 events, I had 3 near-death experiences. But people have to understand this, Jesse. And science, with the discovery of the Higgs boson particle at the CERN reactor in Switzerland, we are all connected. No one ever leaves heaven. You never go anywhere. We have proven by looking at neutrinos and tachyons that we are all completely together. It's all a part of one. It's so amazing to me that science has given God a name. They call God dark matter. This shows you how reasonably ridiculous they all are.
Wow, we are jumping in full force. Man. So
why not?
Let's back up. Yeah, I know. Let's go. Go with the flow. Let's back up a bit. You got struck by lightning a second time. How? I know you probably. This is a crazy question, but how did that happen a second time? I've heard of people getting struck by lightning just once, but a second time.
Well,
what happened on that experience?
Well, I say that, I just didn't get it the first time. So, you want to see how funny the divine is? I was struck by lightning sitting in a bedroom in my home, sitting in a bedroom, talking on the phone. Well, I would never go back in that room. I just never would do it. So I moved to another house.
Right.
And I was struck by lightning talking on the telephone in the bedroom of the second house. Hi, Dannion.
Wow.
Just in case you didn't get it the first time, we're going to kill you again.
Wow.
This time it just knocked me unconscious. It slammed me against the wall, and I was just knocked out for about 45 minutes. And it was just another reminder, and I always used to say, I believe in coincidences, Jesse. I just had never seen one. So I think that the divine has a way of creating these kinds of events to make sure you got it the first time.
Right.
I have a deeply devoted love and appreciation for life, and that there is a divine force that walks with us, that surrounds us, that we dwell in, and that we have the rare privilege of being able to live a life within the context of what we call the human experience. And I think these experiences allowed me to truly appreciate the magnificence of this opportunity. I'll give you one even funnier. On September the 17th at 7:05 p.m., 1975, on a Wednesday afternoon during a thunderstorm, I was hit by lightning just above my left ear. It went down my spine and welded the nails of the heels of my shoes to the floor, and you can put your finger in the hole where the lightning went in on the left side because there is an indenture. Well, on September the 17th at 7:05 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, I had brain surgery, and they drilled the first hole in my skull exactly just above my right ear in the exact same location as my left ear, and it's so that if you had a pencil, you could stick it all the way through my head where the lightning went in the first time, and where the drill hole was drilled the second time. 22 years, 12 hours to the minute on the September the 17th at 7:05 a.m. Now, that just shows you what a beautiful and wondrous sense of humor and how funny the world that we live in and the home that we will return to has a sense of humor. I figured I figured the angels were down at the Cloud Bar having a couple of good, solid shots of cloud juice. And they said, I think we need to go kill Dannion again, but let's make it really interesting for him.
Wow. I am almost speechless. We have about a minute left in the first half, and I really want to get into your experiences as far as what happened when you actually crossed over, when you left your body and when you were pulled into what we call heaven. What was your experiences like? Because I've heard you tell the story about meeting these beings that we call angels, if we can even call them that, because according to your description, angels almost isn't the right word for them, because they were everything that we describe as beautiful and powerful and courageous and magnificent, right?
Angels, if you look up the old Hebrew word, angel just means messenger. Mm-hmm. But these beings were more magnificent than that, Jesse. They were illuminated, wondrous, what honor, integrity, and greatness stand for. That's what these beings emanated. And some people can call them angels. I just, when I had this experience, Jesse, I had to go and relearn so many things that I had completely abandoned and ignored to try to make sense of what is now known as the near-death experience. Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. This is amazing, and I don't want to go any further. I want to go ahead. Let's go ahead and go to a commercial break, and then we'll get into the actual near-death experience as far as your experience of heaven when we come back. Folks, this is Jesse Herriott having a powerful discussion with Dannion Brinkley. He's an American author, spiritual teacher, and all of that good stuff. Just stay tuned. We'll be back with more right here at Living on Purpose. Stay tuned.
If you've been inspired by the programming on Unity Online Radio, we hope you'll give your support so others may be inspired too. This online radio network depends on the love offerings of listeners to continue operating and expand its outreach. Please visit www.unity.fm and click on Donate Now. Thank you.
He's the most talked about figure in history. How do you see Jesus? As a savior, a way-shower, a mythical hero? In his cutting-edge new book, Jesus 2.1, an upgrade for the 21st century, Reverend Dr. Thomas Shepard explores the many human concepts of Jesus.
The man of Nazareth has been an imaginary spiritual playmate for millions. Best friend, confidant, silent lover, surrogate father, brother, husband, trusted king when earthly governments fail, all-purpose superhero who will save the day before the final credits roll. Jesus is like a program that has been adapted through the ages while the basic code remains undisturbed despite all subsequent modifications. Now it is our time to rewrite and reinstall the Jesus program. with updates for today, just as every previous generation has done and every subsequent generation will do. The Romans killed Jesus for being a revolutionary. Every succeeding generation kills him anew by losing sight of the ongoing revolution in human consciousness that he represents.
Explore the new book, Jesus 2.1, at www.shopunity.org.
From on the air to on the sea, pack your bags and come with me. Hey, hey, what you waiting for? An early winter rendezvous with all the things you like to do. Hey, hey, treat yourself to more. A little more summer, a little more sun, a little less work and a lot more fun. A little more beach, a little more sand, a little less stress and a lot more tan.
Join your favorite Unity Online radio hosts for Cruise in the Caribbean, November 10th to 17th, 2012. On this fun-filled Caribbean adventure, enjoy sunshine, exceptional dining, and island excursions. Feed your spirit with music, message, and meditation, plus one-on-one time with some of your favorite hosts. That's Cruise in the Caribbean, November 10th to 17th, 2012. To learn more, go to unity.fm/cruise.
A little more sunset, a little more sea, a little less do, and a lot more be. Hey, hey. Hey, hey.
You've been listening to Living on Purpose with Jesse Herriott. If you have a question or comment about today's broadcast, or if you'd like to join in the discussion, friend us on Facebook at Jesse Herriott or email us at livingonpurpose@unity.fm. Now, more Living on Purpose.
And we're back, folks. I'm Jesse Herriott talking today with best-selling author Dannion Brinkley. We're having a very intense conversation, and if you are just tuning in, you definitely want to go back and download the show in its entirety. You can log on to www.unity.fm and download the show for free after 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The information will be available. So, Dannion, you were saying while we took it over the break that near-death experiences are really becoming the norm because there are so many people now that are talking about it. Everybody is describing it differently, but, a lot of the whole, seeing the light and hearing music and being pulled, that's kind of sort of being the norm. But science and things like that, they are catching up with a lot of this, these events and these things that are happening to people, right?
Well, there's no question. With the advancements of cardiopulmonary resuscitation and our knowledge of chemistry, this big bag of salt water that we are living in, more people will be returning. Within the next few years, it will be a standard part of the process because we'll keep coming back. And the research that's being done now, Jesse, so many scientists have come forward to debunk oxygen brain deprivation, temporal lobe seizures, frontal lobe seizures, anaphylactic shock. I believe that some people who are describing near-death experiences are experiencing some of these chemical phenomena that was first used to debunk the near-death experience. But I think that as we advance scientifically and we're able to resuscitate, in my day, if you didn't have oxygen to your brain for 5 minutes, you were considered dead or that you would be have brain damage, so that could explain part of my problem. But now we are resuscitating people up to 3 hours. So the term death has become whimsical. And this book there's my books, Dannion.com, just my first name. You can punch my first name in on any search engine on the earth. It's Dannion, and come live in my world. But there was a Dutch cardiologist who had so many of these near-death experiences from his patients. His name is Tim Hummel.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote probably one of the leading books on describing and his belief system. He was a cardiologist on the near-death experience. And then there is another book by an oncologist, which is a death doctor, named Jeffrey Long. And you can't help but begin to understand that this is going to be a natural phenomena that so many people, I just happen to have been on the beginning. But the point I want to get across most, Jesse, is this. When you lift out of your body and you move down the tunnel and you come into a place of light and you're met by everything that you have ever loved or had ever loved you, life becomes that it was a celebration. Your pets, your parents, your friends, everybody comes to celebrate your return. But the most important part, Jesse, is this. You will see your whole life pass before you in a 360-degree panorama, and you realize that you have missed nothing. You know how many hairs was in the nose of the doctor who pulled you from your mother. You knew everyone in the room. And then you watch your life from a second-person point of view, as if you were your best friend. And you look at the choices that you made. I wrote about this in Secrets of the Light. I wrote Saved by the Light, At Peace in the Light, and The Secrets of the Light, because it was a trilogy of 25 years of me studying the near-death experience and traveling with Dr. Raymond Moody and many of the other early experts in this field. But you look at the choices that you make, and then you will literally become every person that you've ever encountered. And you will feel the direct results of your interaction between you and that person. So the first thing you learn is it's never what you do. It's why you do it that becomes important. And I can promise you this, my first viewpoint of becoming everyone that I had ever encountered, at some stage I decided I needed to quit hitting my own self in the face. And this was the phenomena to me that all the things and all the multi-quasar magnificence of heaven was not more important than the fact that I'm going to be everybody. I'm going to feel what they felt as they encountered me. And this was the life-changing moment. And then there is this thing called judgment. And who judges you? Who knows more about you than you do?
Right.
And the preference that you judge yourself by is this. If the divine, or I'll just say God, if God could not come today and God sent you, in the life you just reviewed, what difference did God make? This life is never about you. It's about you representing yourself based on that you are a divine spiritual being and that you are here to co-create and to create opportunities that the heavenly realm can pass through you in your actions and your intentions to create a heavenly realm in this dimension. I can't say we're doing such a really good job, but that's still the job we have.
Right, and that was my next question, because obviously the human incarnation has to be important. You came back 3 times. What were you giving any specific information about this incarnation, about why we're here, what we're doing, in addition to what you just said? Or?
Yeah, here's the reason why we're here. If God could not come today and God sent you in the life you just reviewed, what difference did God make? Well, what I did with my life, if God couldn't come today and I had a knowledge of the afterlife and paralysis and pain, it took me 2 years to learn to walk and feed myself, where could I best be? So after the third experience, in 1984, I became a hospice volunteer. Well, in 1977, But in 1984, I became a hospice volunteer in VA. And I created a foundation called the Twilight Brigade. It's now probably one of the largest end-of-life care volunteer programs for end-of-life care for veterans. And I have probably 27,000 hours at the bedside of people who've served this country, men and women, going from this world to the next. I've been with 2,005 people making that transition and 422 taking their last breath. So God couldn't come today, and God sent me. In the life I just reviewed, what difference did God make? I'm going to get to be every one of those people as they struggle with what they did in combat, as they struggle with PTSD and polybrain trauma and so many illnesses from the chemicals and depleted uranium and Agent Orange and Desert War syndrome. All of those who know they got these illnesses from the serving in the military and the kind of despair that comes, I'm going to be them and give them that moment of laughter and that ray of hope, and to be the person that listens. And I have roughly 5,500 people at the bedside in 22 states. So if someone's interested in becoming aware of this, they can just go to Dannion and punch up the Twilight Brigade and see. Because, Jesse, think of this. What is the number one cause of death in America and most other countries?
Being born.
Birth. And in my new book, 10 Things You Need to Know Before You Go, I call it the Dannion Book of the Dead. I don't know what HarperCollins will call it, but in at the first page it says, what is the number one cause of death in America and most other countries? And the second page it says birth. And then the third page it says, remember, if you're breathing, you're leaving.
Right.
And what we have to do, we have to put this in context. Because without putting this event in context, no one's going to stay here. A male lives 74.2 years, and a female lives 76.4 years. And that's it. Good night, Irene. So we have to, instead of this going to hell, heaven, or nothing, we have to put in the value of the life we're living, not what we're waiting for that is next. Because the work that you do and the reasons why you do it is what's going to matter to the level that you re-enter home. And that's the whole joy of this, and I guess I've seen this system operate in my own life, and I've probably talked to more than 400 people resuscitated whose life was completely changed just like mine.
Dannion, we have a caller on the line. Someone's calling in. I believe they're calling with a question. Is she on the line now, Jeff?
Yes,
Jenna, are you there?
Gina, yes.
Hey, Gina, thank you for calling in. You have a question for our guest?
Yes, I do. My question is about at the end of life, if there is suffering or if there's not suffering, or even in life, if there's suffering or not suffering, is there any purpose in it? Does it make a difference one way or another? Is the suffering used, or is it just there and it doesn't make any difference?
No, it's a lesson you chose to teach yourself. We are the captains, we are the captains of our fate. We are the rulers of our own destiny. We choose these things. If you read Secrets of the Light, which is the last book, it says this: you choose to come here and you are chosen to come here. You were born because the divine architect believes there is absolutely no one more perfect than to be born at the exact second you were born in the socio-psychological economic place that you were born in, because there is no one to be a greater carrier of the love of the divine that is specifically and uniquely manifested in your own grace and style. But you choose to come here too. You can never become a great sea captain if you always sail calm seas. So suffering comes a lot of times from us just not taking care of ourselves. And suffering comes a lot of times from psychology of the world we chose to come in to overcome support. But everything is about teaching something or learning something. So when a person is suffering, they have to separate. What am I doing? Am I learning something, or am I teaching other people? You know, and once you decide which one of those it is, it becomes clearer. What people need to do is to find out to be of service, to be the difference that the divine makes. And you'll be amazed at how it doesn't make things any better because you chose to learn those lessons. But it gives you a deeper, more powerful and spiritual understanding of why it is occurring. But remember, you chose this particular event or this abusive relationship because it will teach you something, or those who watch you go through it will be taught something. So everything good and bad has a lesson to be learned or a lesson to be taught. And I believe this without any question.
Thank you so much, Jeannie, for calling in. If you haven't disconnected the call already. And, folks, also, I want to let you know, if you have a question for the guest, you can definitely call in to the studio. The number is 1-888-55-UNITY, UNITY. Again, that's 1-888-55-UNITY. If you have a question for the guest, definitely give us a call. So, Dannion, we have about 2 minutes left in the half. I want to, I've heard you talk in other interviews about the specific revelations that you've received while communicating with the angels, because, I mean, your story is just phenomenal. We could probably just spend, a whole show just talking about the revelations that you received and the events that unfolded as a result of those prophecies. What was that experience like?
Well, then have me back again, Jesse.
Yeah, I would love to have you back. Yeah, we can do that, definitely, if you agree to come back. But can you give us a brief synopsis before we go to commercial about that experience and receiving that information from the angels?
Well, I didn't know it was the future. I didn't know the things that I saw when I was in the Crystal Cities, because I've traveled to these places that I call Crystal Cities, Jesse. I didn't know. I'd never heard of the near-death experience, so I spent about 8 months by myself trying to deal with it. And then I discovered I had become Nostradamus, because so many of the things that I was... See, I make fun of everything, Jesse. So I saw the collapse of the Soviet Union. I saw the Chernobyl. I saw the United States going into bankruptcy. I saw that in this particular time period we would center on world peace or world war. I saw that we would enter Iraq and Afghanistan through Desert Storm, and that everything would center around Jerusalem starting around 2004. And I saw the probable possibilities of where we would be. We sit on the precipice of world war or world peace today. Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, Iran. I mean, you're watching literally what drives the Industrial Revolution and oil, the chaos. And you watch that Israel believes that it's being surrounded by its enemies and that the Iranians will attack them. I don't really see it quite like that. But yet, each of these I would have to say that about 90% of what I saw in 1975, wrote it down, documented, and what I wrote about in Saved by the Light has come true. And let me give you a specific example. I described
hold that thought right there. We got to go to commercial break, Dannion. Folks, you're listening to an intriguing conversation between myself and best-selling author Dannion Brinkley. Hold that note. Don't change the internet channel. Don't click the X. We'll be right back.
Your intuition always knows best, but can you hear that still small voice? Spend a powerful weekend with Sonia Choquette at Unity Village and discover that place within you that just knows. Then use this connection to spirit to feel creative and inspired, and most importantly, to fuel authentic action in your life. Join us for The Power of Your Spirit with Sonia Choquette, August 24th and 25th. For details or to register, call 1-866-348-6489 or visit unityvillage.org/Sonia.
Music Speaks Louder Than Words is an inspiring, informative, and fun hour of uplifting, heartfelt music and commentary that delivers a powerful message of love, joy, and oneness. It will keep you smiling and singing along. Your host, Dale Worley, is alive with the Spirit of God each Thursday afternoon at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, with Music Speaks Louder Than Words. Music. It's the only thing that the whole world listens to.
Music speaks louder than words when you sing.
You've been listening to Living on Purpose, where psychology meets spirituality. Now, here is your host, Jesse Herriott.
I'm Jesse Herriott. Folks, thank you for still listening. Thank you for continuing to... I can't get my words out. I am so sorry. Folks, we're going to jump back into the conversation with Dannion Brinkley. I'm still trying to swallow all of this information. And as I was telling Dannion before we went off air for commercial break, this conversation is right on time because of the unfortunate events that happened in Colorado. I know there are a lot of you that are probably listening. Although you study metaphysics and New Thought, you still probably have questions about the afterlife and actual, actually what happens, when you cross over and the experiences. And even though we know heaven and hell to be states of consciousness, what does, in fact, happen when you cross over? What do you experience then? What happens to us? Do we continue another life? Is there such thing as reincarnation, and things like that? So, Dannion, I do want to say that you are helping a lot of people that are listening and those that will download the show.
But this I am thankful for, Jesse, because the more information a spiritual being has living a mental, physical life, the better they're able to understand the circumstances that they find themselves in. We have to really we have to take a good look. I was going to tell you one of the prophecies, when I came Nostradamus. Through the years, Jesse, I've been out here a really long time, and I've had, I just find a sense of humor. When you know you're not going to die and you know you're not going to hell, life just becomes details and entertainment. And when you, and when you look at the circumstances, we have become such a materialistically driven. The United States has given up its industrial base so we can buy cheap stuff on credit. Okay, and so when you start to look at the depletion of our spiritual identity, which I now seems to be reviving with the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, there becomes such a devoid of people not having a spiritual requiem to surround themselves in. And this phenomena, created by the advancement of cardiopulmonary resuscitation and the brilliant knowledge of the chemical operations of the body, the near-death experience will become the standard model for the value of life, and that it's a specific time and purpose. So when you start looking at all the madness that the materialistic consciousness, drugs, Columbine, this new event in Colorado, and kids shooting each other to become members of a gang. We call them gangs, but they're really parentless societies. What a gang is a place where you find a sense of security, a sense of need, and for someone to care. Their families, their extended families. But you must be strong and courageous and have that tribal psychology. So we have to find, everybody has to find something that they believe in about themselves. I mean, that's why I say seek something of service. Mine is a hospice volunteer, but there's Meals on Wheels, there's prenatal care, there's crisis hotlines, there's so many things a person can do to volunteer their time so that they are the difference that the divine makes. And it's very easy. I tell people, if you want to see that your life is in order and that it has meaning, at the end of each day, count how many times you said thank you and you're welcome. How many times have you created an arena where you say thank you and you're welcome? Like, I don't go to restaurants or eat without asking what my waiter's name is and to appreciate them serving me. I try to be courteous to people, which is a brand new field or event for me, because I'm going to be that person. And I want to feel thank you and you're welcome. And so when that happens, but we were talking earlier about the revelations, these things that kept coming true that I didn't just pass off into as another hillbilly having a near-death experience, because these things kept coming true. And I wrote this whole deal on what I called was a environmental religion. That's what I called it. In 1975, because paganism is back. And it's called global warming. But the World Council of Churches have united to protect the environment. The United Nations is creating carbon taxes, and the world is uniting literally as a one world government based on protecting resources. And so, with all the churches, I could not figure in 1975, Jesse, since the separation of church and old pagan religions was because the pagans worship the earth and Mother Nature and Father Sky, and the plants were alive and the rocks were alive and the trees, everything was living, and they were participants in it, whereas the rise of the Holy Roman Catholic Church, and then it mediated into our present-day many religious things that we do, but it was about that you were completely separate from that. So how could you have an environmental religion based on what the founding principles of religion appear to be, and yet that has come true? And so many of those things, and I think what I was given was the probable possibilities of what would occur in the world if we kept doing the same old crap we always do. We start wars. We start wars. And to give you let me give everybody an insightful point. Pay attention to this. I used to think it was going to be Jordan that disappeared, that Jordan would literally disappear off of the map. And I thought that because of the Jordan River, and that Jordan wasn't created till 1948, and that came under the Balfour Agreement. There was no such place as Jordan. But I'm pretty sure you will see an occupation of Lebanon because there is no water in the Middle East, and Israel has no water. So it's going to have to, there are two major rivers in Lebanon. The Jordan River, if anyone has recently been to Jordan, they know the Jordan River is about as wide as my thumb. There are two major rivers in Lebanon, and in order for that to happen, Israel will have to deal with Hezbollah. So you must weaken Syria in order to engage Iran, and these are all Shias. I think it's going to be really, really interesting, Jesse, when people realize that Hezbollah has Christians in it. Those are Christians. Israel, and I am I'm not against anything. I'm for things. Like, I'm not against war. I'm for peace. But when you realize that when Israel started bombing what they thought was the headquarters of Hezbollah in southern Beirut, they were bombing Christian neighborhoods.
Wow.
They were bombing Christian neighborhoods, and they were bombing them with impunity. Because Hezbollah is not just a bunch of Shias, and you got to remember, Lebanon is a crossroads. It's got Christian, it has Phalangists, it has Jews, it has Shiites, it has Sunnis, it has Wahhabis, it has 10 different sects and religions. And Hezbollah was created, and didn't create as an anti-Israeli issue. It became like our Red Cross because there was so much problems in the Civil War.
This is like, wow. This is heavy stuff, Dannion. We only have like 3 minutes left in the show. We may even have to just bring you back and just, dive full force into these things that you're talking about because you're dropping some heavy nuggets there.
But
that being said,
it's this. I observe it from the near-death experience. I don't form opinion. I'm glad that it's HarperCollins, the same people who publish the Bible, publishes my books. I'm quite proud, and I'm going to be an unbiased viewpoint about world affairs based on those prophecies. I'm not going to pull punches. What are they going to do? Kill me? Well, big deal.
Right.
Who do you think that's
already been
You got the T-shirt.
Yeah. For those that are listening, Dannion, what are some, I think you already hinted at it earlier, but what are some practices that you engage in yourself? You've had the near-death experiences, and, do you engage in spiritual practice on a day-to-day basis as far as meditation goes or interpretive reading?
Absolutely. I have a panoramic life review every day, Jesse. I start my day, and I use a book written by Dannion Brinkley, which is called Jewels for the Soul, and I use the Methodist book, The Upper Room, and I use the Unity book, the Unity magazine, because everybody needs to add a spiritual intent to their day. And as I use that intention, or I use that jewel, what I do is as I go through my day, I keep focused on it. A spiritual reference. What difference am I making today? And then in the evening before I go to sleep, I think back through the good things that I did. The things that this jewel, this thing that I picked out, this intention that I picked out. So as the whole day went past, I had that intention in mind.
We are all out of time. We definitely have to bring you back to finish this conversation. Thank you so much for the great work you're doing and for coming on the program and dropping all of these nuggets on us like that.
Well, it's Dannion.com, Dannion. And Jesse, thank you so very much for you doing this show to help all of us better expand our love and understanding of ourselves and our relationship to the divine.
Thank you so much again. Folks, that's our show for this week. Catch us next week, same time, same place. Love someone, laugh much, and remember to live on purpose.
Thank you for tuning in to Living on Purpose, where psychology meets spirituality with Jesse Herriott. Listen in live every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Time for more insights into psychology, ancient wisdom, and how it connects to your life today. Living on Purpose, only on Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world. This program is brought to you in part by www.jesseherriott.com, where psychology meets spirituality. Connect with us on Facebook and YouTube. Keyword search Jesse Herriott. Did you know that most of us operate on autopilot and don't even realize it? In fact, psychologists suggest automatic behavior has become the rule of thumb these days. Jesse Herriott wants to talk with you about how to make the switch from barely thriving and functioning to living a fully functioning, conscious, and purposeful life. The all is mind, and so are you. Call in with your questions and comments for Jesse Live every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Time on Living on Purpose, where we blend psychology and ancient wisdom. Only on Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world.
Things may happen around you, things may happen to you, but the only things that really count are the things that happen in you.
This meditative moment from Reverend Eric Butterworth is brought to you by Unity.
Whether you love the Bible or hate it, turn to it daily, or refuse to have it in your house, The Bible Alive, Exploring Your Spiritual Roadmap is a program designed just for you. Here on Unity FM, Unity Minister Rev Ed Townley presents the Bible as a practical, powerful spiritual roadmap full of wisdom and guidance for the challenges of life today. A roadmap for your spiritual journey. Isn't that just what you are seeking? Join us every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Eastern, for The Bible Alive, Exploring Your Spiritual Roadmap with Rev Ed Townley, only on Unity FM, the voice of an awakening world.
Do you think you know all you want to know about the characters in the Bible? Do you know who could be called the king who loved too much? Or what it means to be a Jezebel? Or that the best love story in the Bible begins with the declared commitment of two women? The Bible's symbolic meaning can help you transform your life and discover the presence and power of God within you. Find out what these characters can teach you about your own life today by tuning into Biblical Power for Your Life. Each week, co-hosts Reverends Karen Tudor and E.J. Niles present a Bible character from a historical, cultural, psychological, and symbolic perspective. Your comments and questions are part of this lively discussion. Tune in every Thursday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and power up your life only at Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world.